Hello and welcome to this edition of Phi TV. I'm your host, Brad Swanson. We are coming to you from inside the Florida Capitol during the committee weeks leading up to the 2022 legislative session. We are joined by none other than Representative Mike Beltran. Representative Beltran, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so you always work with super complex issues. Like, I don't know why you get assigned this. It might be because you're a super bright attorney. What are you working on now? You said it's in the sovereign immunity world.
Yeah, so we have a sovereign immunity statute, and it sets a very low limit for the amounts that you can recover if you're injured by a government malfeasance, misfeasance, as the case may be. This was a particularly big problem for the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas families. They all, according to the county, have to share a $300,000 cap, so that's got to get divvied up between the 17 fatalities and also the numerous injuries. And I don't think that's fair. It arises in a number of other contexts, anything from police brutality to an ordinary traffic accident. Folks with severe injuries are getting capped $200,000 or $300,000, and sometimes your injuries are greater than that. And I think the government ought to be held to a higher standard, not to a lower standard than the rest of us. Sometimes it's as simple as if you're driving a UPS truck, UPS is liable for unlimited damages if they injure or kill somebody. If it's a county truck doing similar activity, then it's capped at $200,000. I don't think that's
amazing.
fair.
The higher standard of local government. You think about. What's good for the goose is good for the gander as well, and it's just it's interesting that for so long the bar has deferred to, oh no, we can't go after them because they can't exact their businesses in a way that's appropriate, but it should be equal.
Yeah, and it puts a chilling effect even on pursuing the limited amounts that are available. Now let's remember where sovereign immunity came from. Sovereign immunity came from the Middle Ages, the common law in England, that the king made the law, therefore he was not subject to it or he could exempt himself from it, and from the divine right of kings, that the king could do no wrong because he was the mandate of heaven or whatever, if you will. Obviously we've discarded that notion. We have a Republican form of government here in Florida. When we turned toward representative government, there was another notion that the courts should not be appropriating money because that's the province of the legislature. So if the court were to issue a judgment, they would be usurping the legislature's role. The problem with that is we have exceptions in the sovereign immunity statute. We do what's known as claim bills, and the legislative subcommittees and committees, and eventually the entire chamber, sit and review these excess judgments, these judgments that go over, and we decide whether they can be paid or not. And we essentially sit as this ad hoc appellate court. It's not our institutional competence. And I think doing that on an ad hoc basis for whoever is able to get in front of the legislature, which is not necessarily the most meritorious cases, that poses far more separation of powers issues than a court rendering judgments in the ordinary course for government as well as for private.
It's never easy with you, is it? It's always literally the most complex versions of the law. I love it. Well, we're going to stay tuned on that. That's fascinating. All right, so you're also doing something, is it with the college system or the school system?
It's with the high school sports system. Right now, for a number of years, we had a monopoly. The Florida High School Athletic Association essentially had a monopoly. A couple of years ago, we made certain exceptions to that, but essentially they could waive their monopoly, but you still kind of needed their approval, at least their tacit approval, in order to have a competing sports league. And quite frankly, there were sports that they couldn't or wouldn't offer, and so other sports leagues developed to offer some of those more boutiques. Such as women's beach volleyball. That wasn't something that's more of a boutique sport, if you will. Not everyone's interested in that, but some people are, and they developed a league for that. And now the FHSAA is, now that it kind of caught on and now it's popular and therefore lucrative, FHSAA wants to come in and kind of box out the little guy. I don't think that's fair. I believe in school choice, and I think that extends logically to athletics. And so if you believe in school choice, you should believe in school choice for athletics. Give the kids options. They want to do FHSAA and have a big football team and win the state championship. Great. If you want to just offer women's volleyball because you're a smaller school and maybe you can't offer a traditional volleyball team because you don't have enough talented students to fill out those roles. You want to do flag football instead of tackle football, for instance. You want to do some martial art that maybe isn't offered in the regular curriculum. You should be allowed to do that, and the more that we can give options in education, including athletics, it increases the opportunities for everyone.
That's fascinating. You never think of, we think of the NFL, we think of the NCAA for sure, right, with Representative Lamarca's bill and the like kindness. But you just never think of that in high school sports. There's a monopoly as well. So
yeah, we don't give the NCAA a monopoly. In fact, we've kind of cut back on some of their prerogatives in previous sessions. But we say you can have college intramural sports, for instance, right? And you have other options. You can go sign up with some league, some local league. If there's a sport that's not, you could be at a D1 school and they may not offer wrestling, for instance. Right, so you go off campus, you can do an intramural league. I did intramural wrestling. I wasn't, frankly, good enough to be D1. Well, I could have been, but I would have got beat every time. So, but I did the intramurals. And
I could have played college golf, but I would have lost every match hands down. So.
Well, I'm not going to agree. I don't know. We've never played golf, but anyway. Well, thanks for the interview.
We appreciate you having you on. Number one, we want to stay in touch with you on the bills and where these are. So we want to have you back on during session, if that's all right. Absolutely. All right, I'm not going to let you go without asking the fun question, right?
What's that?
We know you work tirelessly for your constituents, but when you're not, what do you like to stream? What do you like to watch to take your mind off the world?
Right now I'm watching, I guess it's a series, it's on Netflix, it's called Turn, and it's about Washington's spy network during the Revolutionary War. And there's a little thing on Netflix, it says it's gone November 30th, because I guess they rotate their, so I got to binge watch over Thanksgiving.
Got to knock that out.
Not that I got time to binge watch with session coming up, but maybe I will.
Yeah, there's enough time to sleep when you die, so it's all good. All right, well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing with us what you're watching, and thank you for the great work that you're doing. That's all the time we have for this episode of FITV. For more great interviews like this one, make sure you hit us up on our social media feeds, and for now, thanks for tuning in.